What am I getting myself into with this one? So, Steve's a bit of a hot-button topic in the Smash community. Amusement toward the Minecraft icon getting into Ultimate as DLC has turned sour in competitive circles, thanks to some overtuned moves, weak points not working as intended, and a lot of ways to cheese opponents' stocks. Fears of a repeat of Smash 4 Bayonetta wreaking havoc on the metagame have led to talk of banning Steve outright out of fear of it happening again. And that was before a side effect of a glitch that lets him conditionally ignore hit stun was discovered, opening up a whole other can of worms. Basically, it's been an absolute mess. And while Steve's alleged brokenness is up for debate since his results haven't been as dominant as examples from other fighting games, he's also turned out to be really toxic and demotivating to play against, possibly because the pandemic got really bad right when development on him got going, making it a lot harder to playtest the most complicated newcomer in Smash history. But what if we could remake Steve and fix everything that went wrong? The right adjustments to the moveset, stats, and mechanics could better embody the creativity and fun of Minecraft, better appeal to the series' own massive community, and play more like a creator instead of a griefer. This won't be easy, but without further ado, let's get building. So here's the thing, Steve's visuals in Smash aren't inherently a problem. Looking like a 3D fish out of water is fine. The animations being close to how they are in Minecraft is workable. And the alternate costumes are pretty cool. If the next Smash game allows for more than 8, Steve and Alex and the gang could get even more design/outfits/model swaps. But while making them feel close to their home series was a neat idea, the current designs try so hard to be one-to-one direct lifts from Minecraft that it causes problems. Characters in fighting games need to have clear animations so everyone playing can understand what's going on. But Steve's current design and animations focus so hard on being 100% accurate to the source material that it doesn't always accomplish that. Which is why I would actually diverge just a little from Minecraft and touch up Steve's model and range of animations to work better in the context of a fighting game, while still feeling in character. The guys at Curiomatic, formerly Smashified, actually made a concept a while back with that exact idea in mind. These subtle updates to Steve's model and range of motions go a long way. Check the description for a link to their video, it's really interesting. At his core, bedrock, we want Steve's fighting style to both encourage and reward being creative, just like playing Minecraft does. His current moveset attempted that, but in practice it wound up a combination of build walls to mine behind until someone makes you interact with them, mash attacks with high-powered tools until they eventually beat opponents out for massive damage, and fish for 50 different matchup checks that kill early if your opponent doesn't know them. Our retool will zero in on Steve's intended playstyle while, hopefully, clearing out the toxic parts. He'll still be very dynamic and capable of a lot of stuff, but now it'll be more about having a variety of ways he can fight and respond to the matchup or situation. Should allow for more player creativity without the extra baggage. The extra emphasis on traps and setups is still there, but with a greater focus on observing your opponent and exploiting their bad habits, instead of pressure inherently being on them to not fall for your aforementioned 50 different matchup checks. For exact stats, Steve's run speed, fall speed, and initial dash have been kept the same. Clunky mobility, and terrible burst movement outside of minecarts, is both in character and an intentional weak point, one I thought best to keep. Some parameters and point ratings were also left intact, like the thin shape of his model and his very good frame data. Certain moves are a touch slower than before. We'll get to those briefly. His damage output and knockout power also remain very good, albeit more dependent on what material his current tools are made of. But I did alter a few things. Not only do Steve's damage and kills bottom out worse than before, his combos aren't as long. A few moves are more escapable now, and the many techs and exploits that push his damage output over the top in Ultimate are presumed to not be a thing anymore. His recovery's also taken a hit, though it's still very good, just has a couple of new flaws and isn't as prone to stall tactics. On the other hand, I anticipated how serious some of the nerfs I gave him might be and actually buffed a few stats. His walk speed, airspeed, and weight are all just a little higher. Further adjustments could happen if the finished product was too weak, or still very strong. Now for the tough part. How can we retool this moveset for the better? Basic attacks first, and here's where we start to diverge. Steve's jab is still a weak but very fast slash forward, but it's been tweaked a little. It's still a combo starter that repeats if you hold the button down, but racking up damage with this move alone doesn't work anymore, because Steve does something different now when pressing forward or backward, altering the sword swing to reach further forward at the cost of a little more startup and end lag. Since the attacks aren't so constant when Steve is moving now, opponents can escape more easily after being hit multiple times, and instead of comboing opponents, especially fast fallers, by just walking across the stage, you're encouraged to hit once or twice, then follow up with something else. 2 jabs to forward tilt to forward air, for example. More dynamic that way. Steve's up tilt got similar changes. Yak's swing has slightly more reach than before, but a faster chopping motion with fewer active frames, as well as greater end lag and less weirdly generous hitboxes. While it's still an anti-air combo move, now it's more about catching opponents jumping or landing instead of walking up to them with nearly airtight coverage. It's also an alternate follow-up for his jab now. Jab, jab, up tilt, up air? Steve's down tilt is... wait, what? This one's completely new. He equips a shovel and digs at the ground in front of him, dealing a single hit at his feet that also scatters a few tiny pieces of cube-shaped dirt. With better range than his other tilts but more end lag, this move trades his old down tilt's easy ledge coverage for something with low enough base knockback to also be a combo move. Oh, and we'll still be using the flint and steel for something else. Then Steve's dash attack is the same as before, a running swing with a pickaxe. The animation could get some touch-ups to use that newfound sorta kinda flexibility and help it feel as strong as it is. Now for Steve's smash attacks, and we have another replacement already. His new forward smash has Steve use his greater range of motion to rotate his arms diagonally back above his head, grip his pickaxe with both hands, then swing down hard, like trying to mine a particularly stubborn piece of netherite. This move maintains most of his current forward smash's power while getting a bigger hitbox, especially vertically, at the cost of no forward movement, so it's worse at knee-jerk fadeback attacks and more end lag. Steve's other smash attacks are the same as before, but we can upgrade the animations. His up smash can have him lean sideways after placing the magma block, bring his right arm down to his side, then do a rising uppercut swing that shatters the block, sends anyone stuck on it flying, and sells the move's power way better than its current version. The lava bucket down smash can get a similar touch-up, like maybe an extra bit at the end where Steve almost loses his balance from the weight of the bucket he's heaving around, teetering on one blocky leg for a moment before regaining his footing. As you might have guessed with the tilts, Steve's aerials are also getting some changes. His neutral air is the same as before though, conditionally. He gets the quick jab motion anytime you aren't pressing a direction while in midair, but pressing A while rising during a jump forward or back doesn't get you this move anymore if you're pressing a direction. Instead, Steve's forward and back airs come out, and they've been altered. A new animation for the former has him lean forward a little, since he can do that more easily now, and swing his pickaxe in a less rigid downward angle than before. Reaching further than his old forward air and covering a larger arc, the better spacing comes at the expense of not being able to spike anymore. His back air takes some of these elements too. Reaching further than his current one, but with more startup and end lag, it's still one of his best finishers. Having better vertical range makes it usable in more situations, but worse frame data means you can't fish for kills with it as much. So you know that thing we did to Steve's forward tilt, making it bigger but laggier to rein in his single move combos? The up air's like that now too. No longer a carbon copy of his up tilt, it's got a bigger arc but worse frame data. This limits its ability to do super long ladder combos for ridiculous damage, a change that kinda needed to happen. At least it's better at juggling now? Oh boy, this thing. A powerful and weirdly low commitment projectile meant to be kept in check by its resource cost, but hasn't been in practice. We can bring this move back down to earth, so to speak, by giving it a bit more startup, forcing Steve to stay on the anvil for longer before jumping off, and having it cost 2 stacks of iron to use instead of just 1. Still a powerful landing mix-up or edge guard, but now its drawbacks work as intended. Might need to do away with the landing hitbox too if necessary. How about Steve's grabs and such? The grab animations are the same as before, an unorthodox tether grab that can't tether with an unusually active hitbox but poor frame data. His pummel is also the same, one of Steve's only moves that doesn't use a tool or contraption by default, unless you count the fence. Steve's throws are mostly the same, but with a few alterations. His forward throw still uses a piston, but increased knockback growth actually makes it a better kill throw than before. His back throw is statistically the same, but lost its cheese setups because of stuff we'll get to in a bit. Up throw's another carryover, but this one's lost some knockback that makes it KO later than before. Steve's forward throw is his best kill throw now, rewarding players for actively pushing opponents to the ledge. But wait, his down throw is new, ricocheting opponents off the ground without getting an anvil involved. With power in between the anvil and anvil-less versions of the old one, it's a lot less damage than the former. However, lower knockback lets it combo for longer than before, and you're not burning 2 iron every time you use it, which actually comes in handy for reasons that'll make sense. Lastly, how about Steve's taunts? While all of them have the same premise as before, we can add a little to them. His up taunt is still the customary Minecraft greeting, but his greater range of animation lets him wave while jumping instead of hoping a punching motion gets the idea across. His down taunt does something similar, having him nod twice quickly at the end now, as if sharing a plan with his teammates. And his side taunt isn't limited to just a steak anymore. Now he has a 1 in 4 chance to take out that, an apple, a cooked chicken, or a cookie to snack on. Alright, here's where it gets complicated. To iron out Steve's biggest issues and bring out the best in his potential, I had to do some serious tinkering to his specials. Hear me out, alright? Let's go down the list. Starting with... You don't mind if we go out of order, do you? The general idea of this move is the same, and you can still careen into people, ricochet off walls, or bail out and have the empty cart sweep people away. But we're making a few changes that are hopefully for the better. First, you know how the cart can't be damaged until it and Steve start moving? We're doing away with that. No more using it on reflux the moment you get in a disadvantaged state, or the cart gets destroyed right away, you get hit, and you're down 1 iron and still in disadvantage. Secondly, and a change that should have been a thing all along, the empty cart is now a quote-quote hit grab, which means just like Isabel's fishing rod, it can only grab opponents if it physically hits them and can't get through shields. This deals with one particularly infuriating part of the move and adds clearer counterplay. Now if the cart hits someone's shield, it bounces off like hitting a wall. Not only that, Steve has more end lag than before after bailing out of the cart, while opponents have a lot less. Now Steve can't mash an attack or dodge at the last moment when someone gets close, and anyone who breaks out of a runaway cart isn't inexplicably stuck in place, unable to do anything for an entire second. But it's not all nerfs. Now when Steve's riding in the cart on the ground, so on rails, its top speed is higher than before, especially if using powered up redstone rails. More helpfully, starting a powered cart doesn't use gold anymore, just iron and redstone, and placing extra rails down on the ground no longer uses extra materials, making the cart more worth riding in yourself. All of these trade-offs change Minecart's niche to something new. What was once a knee-jerk escape/reversal tool with a built-in, nearly reaction-proof 50-50 is now mainly a gap closer and recovery move with secondary combat use. Combined with changes to Steve's resources that we'll get to shortly, this move is now something you save for when the time is right, not something you just throw out to see if it works. Yeah, like I said, complicated. Let's see what's in store with the others. Alright, up special next. With the right changes, we can iron out the Elytra's downsides while putting its most egregious traits in check, starting with diverging the gliding mechanics even further from how they worked in Brawl. Swooping down low and coming back up doesn't get you back up as high as before, limiting the ability to drop close to the blast zone and come all the way back up to avoid the vast majority of edge guards. Other exploits would also get ironed out, so it has its intended drawbacks, including additional end lag if you land on the ground before the wings run out of juice, taking away a couple cheesy confirms. So what's the upside? Well, the Elytra in Smash is actually rocket-powered. That's how Steve accelerates with it, just like in Minecraft. If you have a stack of redstone to spare, holding B lets you expend one, using it in place of gunpowder because that's not attainable here, to make it launch faster with a stronger hit. Like with Minecart, these changes should, hopefully, fix Elytra's degenerate stuff while also giving it something new to play around with. The optional extra rocket boost can even let it recover from pretty far away despite the nerfs to the gliding mechanic, as long as you have redstone to spare. That's the simple ones out of the way. Figuring out how to handle the rest took some work, but let me show you what I came up with. Instead of placing TNT, Steve's down special now does two different things. By default, he reaches down and places a block beneath him. This is mapped to here now instead of neutral special while in midair, and it's also had several changes. Blocks are still made from your weakest available material, have different amounts of HP, and slowly run out over time, but there are more limits now on where you can place them. Now they must be touching a stage surface, wall, platform, or another block. No more suspending them in midair like it's creative mode, and ledges and stage undersides can't have blocks within a certain range of them either, so no more planking off stage or blocking ledges in ways that weren't meant to be possible. Also, you know how in Ultimate fighters always ricochet off blocks no matter how hard they've been hit unless you break your fall, and either option can lead to getting cheesed? Well, now if someone gets sent into a block while under high enough knockback, they crash through it instead, destroying it on contact. Sounds like a lot of nerfs, right? But this move's other function makes up for it. This is how Steve uses crafting tables now, and he has more options than before. Press down and B near one to open up a small, easily read ring-shaped menu in the style of Shulk's Minato arts that displays 6 icons indicating upgrades or objects you can build. Press a corresponding direction to highlight one and let go of it, and Steve crafts that item. Tools can be upgraded the same as before, using your strongest available material and with similar stat buffs, though with extra balancing if necessary. Unlike currently, all tools share their durability. When one breaks, they all break. All tools have higher base durability to compensate. Steve can also craft armor now, again using the strongest available material. The extra protection reduces the damage, but not knockback, he takes until it wears out. Unlike tools, armor slowly loses durability over time, and taking/reducing damage makes it break faster. There are also 4 other objects you can craft. We'll get to those in a moment. Big shakeup, isn't it? These changes de-emphasize obstructing opponents with block setups, refocusing Steve's creative aspects around making equipment and other stuff to use. But what are these mystery objects? Let's see. After a diversion first, because this move also does 2 different things now, which is actually 1 less than before. By default, holding B has Steve mine for resources like usual, and yes, this has changed too. First, you now get the same materials in the same order on every stage and surface. Might not be as immersive, but it kinda has to be done so certain stages aren't a disproportionate advantage. Olimar's Pikmin plucks were stage-based in Brawl, and that got so out of hand that Smash 4 changed it to a set order too. Maybe we could compromise and have it only kick in if you're playing with hazards off? More importantly, the rate you mine materials at gets slower over time. Steve's arm visibly slows down to illustrate this. Diminishing returns make camping for materials much less rewarding, and since your mining rate only recuperates if you go a while without doing it, like how Bowser's Flame Breath recovers, it turns mining into something you go for in short bursts during breaks in the action. Steve also has changes to how many materials he can hold, as illustrated by an updated graphic in his UI. There's a stricter cap now on how much you can carry. 10 slots combined for dirt and wood, 6 for stone, 4 iron, 3 redstone, and only 1 gold and 1 diamond at a time. And when you lose a stock, in a change that feels like it should have always existed, you lose half of your accrued materials. Round it up. If you have all 3 redstone slots filled, you lose 2 of them. If you have either gold or diamond, you lose it. If you have both, you lose the diamond, but not the gold. All of this combined pulls the strategy behind mining away from camping until you get the good stuff, then hoarding it like a dragon, focused instead on using them as soon as you can to build upgrades and objects to fight with. Speaking of which, let's see those objects. First up, flint and steel. Told you it wasn't gone. Press B after crafting this object to create a small square-shaped flame in front of you that lasts slightly longer than the original down tilt if it's touching the ground. Falls apart faster if suspended in the air. And if you use it on a block, or a bunch of blocks connected to each other, it sets them on fire, dealing multi-hit damage to any opponent who touches them. The blocks lose HP faster because of it, but hey. Next, a crossbow that Steve whips out with a press of the B button. Tap to fire a bolt decently quickly, or hold to charge for a stronger shot that goes further and deals moderate damage. Though you can't hold indefinitely, it shoots on its own. Did I mention you can strafe and short hop while charging like during half of Steve's tilts? A bundle of TNT slots here now instead of being a standalone special. Press B to place it at Steve's feet, or hold it to throw it forward a short distance. Works mostly like the old down special, except for that oversight that prevents friendly fire, that's gone. But the explosion's a little different now. Not as powerful knockback-wise and a little smaller, but now it lasts longer and deals up to 3 total hits, making it harder to avoid up close and opening up opportunities to combo it into another attack. Lastly, a dispenser, placed at Steve's feet facing forward. If the player who put it there strikes it with an attack, including indirect attacks like cards or anvils, it shoots a splash potion of harming in an arc forward that explodes in a blast of painful chemicals when it hits something. The damage, knockback, and size of the explosion depend on how far the potion has gone. It's strongest close up and weaker the further it goes. This reworked neutral special allows for more creativity and customization than ever before. With different objects to modify your options with, each Steve player can craft different things to suit their personal preferences or adapt to the matchup or situation. But there's a reason I mapped this to the neutral special. Not only can you only have one object available at a time, and all of them have limited uses / HP before they break and you have to craft another, once you've crafted one, you cannot mine for more resources until you've completely expended it. The incredible versatility comes with a built-in trade-off. With more options for augmenting your abilities than before, but a stricter resource cap and more limits to when and how long you can mine, this should turn Steve's gameplay loop into a frenetic cycle of quickly mining resources and finding openings to craft stuff to fight back with. Whew, so how about Steve's final smash? The current one is okay, but I think we can do better. Steve still whips out a giant piston like before, but if someone gets hit by it now, an end portal appears behind them that they're sent flying into. Then a cinematic kicks in, showing the affected fighters dazed and stranded in a strange, desolate plain wrapped in darkness. With barely a moment for them and the players to get their bearings, a spine-chilling roar echoes through the void as the Ender Dragon descends before the fighters, with Steve riding on the back of the thing, having somehow tamed it. The camera cuts to the dragon glaring angrily at the unwilling intruders, and as Steve dramatically points forward using his newfound motion, the beast rears back, builds up an incredible amount of fell energy, and unleashes a dark breath that smothers the helpless foes in shadows and blows them away. I think it embodies the moveset's new direction pretty well. Why trap opponents in a house full of mobs and explosives like some kind of griefer when you could do something that shows off how awesome you are instead? There we are, a revamped take on Steve that alters his kit, re-envisions certain specials, and refreshes the overall design to better embody the positive aspects of his series instead of the negative ones. Still an unconventional and very complex fighter, hopefully not too complex. I might have gone overboard with the new crafting options and I hope it wasn't too much. But the greater emphasis on crafting equipment and objects should hopefully be easier to balance and less infuriating to fight against. Steve players can express themselves in ways they couldn't before, and playing against them should be less about navigating a constant stream of matchup checks where one slip-up can lead to mountains of damage or early kills in ways that were never meant to be possible. Hopefully this offers one path toward making this character less contentious if he returns next game. Though by no means am I convinced these ideas are foolproof, this character is so weird that ironing out the kinks would take rigorous playtesting beyond what the devs probably ever got to do originally. But I hope this shows it is possible to keep the spirit of Minecraft alive in the moveset while balancing it better to be a more enjoyable experience for everyone. Special thanks to these people for contributing to this video. Thanks especially to my ever-growing list of patrons for the extra support. Couldn't do this without you guys. In fact, I am pleased to announce a new patron reward. Just like with Challenger approaching, current patrons will get to vote on which of these characters gets featured in Remake It next. With just $1 of support per month, you can help decide the future of both series. So, until next time, any creepers here? No? Good.